Hey everybody, Dr. Helbin here at Tech Talk Education. How are you doing? It's almost Christmas. This is December 19th of 24. And I wanted to talk to you today about a little article that I came across in the Hacker News. I thought it would be a little bit of a nice palate cleansing to get away a little tiny bit from the PowerShell and or the Kali Linux to talk about this vulnerability that's been recently discovered. I intend to keep going down the road with PowerShell and with Kali, so I'm not giving that up. This is just a little bit of a rabbit trail. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started and take a look at this. So here's the thing. I'm out there reading my favorite news sites. I have a bunch of news sites I look at every day. And one of them is the Hacker News, and so I'm reading it. It's thehackernews.com. And I notice this article, and the article says, Patch Alert, Critical Apache Struts Flaw Found, Exploitation Attempts Detected. This was as of December 18th, so it hasn't, it's like really, really recent. So what I want to do is go out here to Apache real quick. It's apache.org. And I want to convey to you that these guys really know what they're doing when it comes to software development. I really like Apache. They've been doing great things for a long time. And if I look here at projects, they have a bunch of different projects that they have available. And this is one I was not aware of. It's called Struts. So the fact that there was an exploitation within Apache Struts causes me to wonder. It made me go, what's going on here? So let's go back here and look at this. And so it says there was an exploitation, a vulnerability detected. And here's what really attracted me to this article. So it says that threat actors are attempting to exploit a recently disclosed security flaw impacting Apache Struts. Now, this is really interesting. So this is the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, and they've been given a score here. So look, it's a CVE 2024, 53,677 of these vulnerabilities found just this year. This happens to be the 53,677th vulnerability. But the interesting thing is it carries a CVSS score of 9.5 out of 10. Now, if you're going to study for something like, say, your CompTIA Security Plus cert, or maybe your CISSP or whatever, they're all really into this. Like Pentest Plus has this, CISA Plus has this, Security Plus has this. So you need to know what this CVE thing is. You have to know how to read them. And then you need to know what the CVSS score means. Now, 9.5 out of 10 means this is critical. I'm Apache Corp, right? And so if I'm Apache and I'm seeing that there is a CVE out on something that I wrote and it's got a 9.5 out of 10 score, I would have my dev guys working on that right away. So I'm reasonably assured that the patch has already been implemented. But they go on to tell you this vulnerability shares similarities with another critical bug found in December of 2023 with a CVSS score of 9.8. And here's the thing about that. There are people out there in the world that are just, I don't know how they find out about these things, but they're digging and they're digging. They're going after these major companies, the Apaches of the world, Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, you name it, the big guys, the big guns in the world. They're out there looking at them and they're saying, well, what can we do? How can we exploit this? It's going to require a team. You have to have people that understand development coding, and how the code works. You have to have people that understand networking, how scripting works. So there's a lot of skills that are coming into this that are diagnosing this. And this is a very interesting problem because it's bigger than a breadbox here when we're talking about something like Apache Struts. And so that was really interesting to me. Now, I wanted to know, first of all, what it's doing. So it says here, an attacker can manipulate file upload parameters to enable path traversal, and under some circumstances, this can lead to uploading a malicious file, which can be used to perform remote code execution. Okay, What does that mean? Well, path traversal means I'm going to land wherever Apache Struts is at, but since I've got this vulnerability, I can get out there and begin going up to the root of the server. Maybe I could go to this folder, this database, grab these files. So that's what it means when it's saying path traversal. And it could be that I find a place where I could upload a malicious file and do some real damage, including remote code execution, which means I don't even have to be at the computer. I set a bot, and then I can enable it whenever I want to. So this is pretty good stuff here. And you can see that there's quite a few researchers here that have looked at this. It says, in other words, successful exploitation of the flaw could allow a malicious actor to upload arbitrary payloads to susceptible instances, which could then be leveraged to run commands, exfiltrate data, or download additional payloads. So you could continue being the gift that keeps on giving. Now this guy, Dr. Johannes Ulrich, Dean of Research at SANS Technology, very highly respected cybersecurity organization, said that an incomplete patch for this may have led to the new problem. So they're saying that this 2023 50164, right up here, they came out with a patch for that, which may have led to this guy here, 2024 53677. At this point, the exploit attempts are attempting to enumerate vulnerable systems. So now, what happens here if I click this link? I'm just going to right-click and look at it in a new tab. And so this is going to bring up the National Vulnerability Database. Now, I want you to notice a couple of things here. First of all, there's an organization called NIST, the National Institute of Standards. And they are the ones that are making decisions about a lot of different standards. For example, they have a standard for the size of a standardized wine glass. I mean, that's how serious they get about this. Well, they've maintained the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures database for a long time, and they call it the NVD, the National Vulnerability Database, and this is what it looks like. And so we've come in here and we're looking at the hyperlink to this particular problem, and then we look at what's going on here. Now, here's what I was talking about. If you look at this vector, and I can just click on it, you have all of these different words, like you've got AVN, ACH, ATP. I hope you can see those up there. If you're going to sit for like the Security Plus exam, CISA Plus, Pentest Plus exam, CISSP, a number of other cybersecurity certifications, you got to know these letters. You're going to actually see them show up on test questions. And so it's good to know what these mean. And then each of these letters, like AV, has different possibilities. So you've got to know what the various possibilities are. For example, here, attack vector is network. So that's where the N is coming at. So you can see that it says AVN right here. And it's telling you that the attack vector is over the network. And that makes sense, right? Attack complexity, AC is H, it's high. Attack requirements, they call it AT, are present. Privileges required, none. That's very, very interesting because you can get into this machine. If it's running struts, you could get in there with 0 privileges required and begin to start traversing the system. So that's really the point that I wanted to make, was this CVE. You've got to know how to read these things. And it's pretty big. There's a lot to it. So I was wanting you to know about that. Now, I didn't know what Struts did. So I went out, I used the Brave browser, and I really like, I forget what they call it, Leo, I think is what it's called, whatever their LLM is. And I said, what is Apache Struts? And it said, well, it's an open source web application framework for developing Java EE web applications. The EE here stands for Java Enterprise Edition. So the idea is that I've got a team of developers and they're building a website and it's going to use Java, and so they would use Apache Struts to do this work because it's all kind of boiled in, it's all baked in, it's ready to go, And so it makes their life easier in terms of developing a web application using Java. And then it's using a controller called MVC, Model View Controller. They give you some definitions of this and why it works that way. The other thing that I wanted you to see down here is that it provides a set of features and tools that simplify the development. And it's talking about REST, AJAX, and JSON. And my point with this video is cybersecurity is just an amazing, immense topic. One of the areas in which you really need to be strong is going to be in the area of web development, which means it goes way beyond just, an HTML class you might have taken in college somewhere. This gets way big. There's a lot to this. And so you have different protocols like REST, AJAX, and JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. You also have a Java Servlet API, and the Java Software Pack, I guess. So what's happening here is Struts is building on these things to create a Java app for a company. So the vulnerability isn't the company's website. The vulnerability is Struts. So a company has developers, they build this website, it's running Java, everything's running fine, it's way cool. Somebody in who knows where says, hey, wait a minute, this thing's built on Struts and I have found this exploitation I can use. I could go out and get into this website because it's Struts based, not because of anything that the company did in their development efforts. So that's the point here. But the larger point is you'll have to at least recognize these, if not be relatively functional in them. And you've got to know that Apache is a very highly, highly regarded company. So the fact that they've got some sort of an exploit out here is pretty interesting. A vulnerability, that's very interesting. Now I looked up who are the top Apache Struts users. And of course Leo comes in and says, well, it's these guys here. Well, look at what we got here. We got government agencies, e-commerce platforms, financial institutions, and yay, airlines. And so the concept here is that this is very, very big. You see why they wanted to use this Struts vulnerability, because it allows them to get into places that are big, where there's a potential for inducing some malware that exfiltrates data out of customer records, or transfers money, or does a ransomware exploit of some kind. So this is a big thing, and I wanted you to know about it because it came about as a result of just reading this little article on Hacker News. What's the takeaway for you? The takeaway should be, okay, I'm going to read about this and I'm going to go, yawn, this is boring, because I do that. I look at it and I go, I don't really care. But I want to tell you that the article is well written enough here that it made me sit up and take notice. And the thing that I really made me take notice here was Apache. The fact that it says Apache, these guys are very highly respected. They're running on a lot of web servers in the world. This isn't their only thing that they do. They're very highly regarded. And then I said, well, okay, I don't know what Struts is. I'm going to go look that up and find out what that is. And that made me go down the rabbit trail of finding out that it's a Java EE development tool. But then when you look at this, top Apache users, Struts users, now it becomes clear. And this is probably going to be some sort of a governmental cybersecurity entity of some kind that has the knowledge and the capability to make this happen. So I don't think this was some random dude, in some country somewhere that is just off the beaten path. This happened because of some sort of a nation state attack, or they found this somehow. Could be a mob, like cybersecurity group that's in the mob. It could be somebody like that, but this took some money, some development effort. It took expertise to recognize what these things were all about, and so this is a bigger thing than simply dropping off a Trojan horse onto Ma Kettle's computer and watching it blow up. That's the point with the video, and the main takeaway here is to understand the CVEs. You've got to know about them, especially if you're going to sit for these certification exams. And there's their definitions. You should probably take the time, and I love it that the MVD puts this out here because it's a lot of really obnoxious reading. But the idea is that you should be able to read that vector line and understand what each one of those are saying and what their importance is. And you see, like the bottom one, provider urgency. They don't put PU, they just put a U and they go red, and I assume red means, oh yeah, this is really, really bad. So that's the point. I hope you enjoyed this movie. Thanks for listening. And I will do a follow-up movie on Kali Linux and PowerShell shortly. Have a great day. Merry Christmas.